The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Hi, welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit show. This will be an interesting subject today. The name of the show actually is Sugar, Sugar, Sugar. Who of us doesn't love that stuff, okay? We'll be talking a little bit about the habit, addiction, but sugar is the cause of 30 to 50 of our chronic diseases, which can be avoided, prevented, and even reversed. And that's why I'm very interested in the subject. And there are other names for sugar. You should read labels on things you're eating. You should have a look at the bottle or at the label of the food that you're buying. And there are other names for it, so the industry will try to change the name so you think it's a low-sugar product when it isn't, okay? Sucrose, honey, fructose, dextrose, glucose, levulose, maltose, maple sugar, galactose, brown sugar, barley malt, corn syrup, corn sweetener, many other names, about a good 100 names or so, and you get to learn some of them. Otherwise, you'll be eating it, and it can result in a bad health. Type 2 diabetes being a common one, and eating too much sugar. In donuts, processed food, jams, jellies, candy bars. Robert Lustig recently said that type 2 diabetes, which results from eating too much sugar, most of the people are overweight, but not all of them, he says type 2 diabetes, which this causes, you might as well call it processed food disease. Interesting, where we take off the coverings and the brand and the vitamins and the minerals are removed, and we're just eating the flour and the sugar and becoming sick. We find it also in packaged cereals, sodas. 50% of drinking sugary drinks causes health problems. That accounts for 50% of it. So to switch to, say, water with lemon and lime, or even without, is a much healthier thing to do. And they keep sugar also in chewing gum, sodas. And here's one that'll get you. They have even the sugar in cigarettes. Yeah, read Gary Taub's book, The Case Against Sugar. He has a whole chapter on that. And they put the sugar in there because that makes it more addictive. It makes our breath acidic, opens the alveoli up, and lets the nicotine into the body and doubles the addiction rate. There's sugar in cigarettes. Gary Taub's chapter explains the whole thing, or you can pull up on the internet. So we're trying to lick the sugar habit a little bit, okay? And so how much sugar are we consuming in the 1700s? 500 pounds a year. Only the kings and queens had it. You notice they had black teeth. Many died young. Many were overweight because they could afford the sugar. The rest of the population could not afford it. But now sugar is getting cheaper. But the government supports the price of sugar so we consume for it, and that's not nice. That they do that. It's making the country sick. Then they invented in the 70s, the Japanese invented an enzyme that could convert corn to high fructose corn syrup. That's a bit more sweet, but most of it has fructose in it and is metabolized in the liver and is more likely to cause fatty liver and make you sick. The average person consumes about 10 pounds a month, maybe 30 to 33 teaspoons full a day. Just think of it. A day, 4.5 cups of sugar per week. That's sugars that you add or that are hidden in the food that you're buying. You maybe not reading the labels, and most of that is refined sugar. In other words, they remove the bran and the coverings, which have in them the vitamins, the minerals, and the coverings. And you're eating pure, about 96% pure sugar. So in 1977, the U.S. Senate Committee on Nutrition and Human Needs set the dietary goals for the United States and called for 40% reduction in sugar intake. The Senate never issued another report. That was it from the government. That was it. In 1980, the FDA came through with what they thought was a correct statement, which actually was not. It made the problem worse. And they made a gross error in saying that, well, a lot of the sugar we're consuming, we're really not absorbing. It's bold-faced lie. It was industry lobbying, and they knew it too, because someone called them up and noticed in one of these books and discussed that with them, and they admitted on the phone they had made a big mistake. There are minerals like magnesium and copper and zinc and cobalt that are also in sugars, and they're important. When we use refined sugar, they've been removed, and the body doesn't have them, so it interferes with the metabolism which runs your body. And the cost of sugar went way down. Coca-Cola Company even provided a Coke for 5 cents during the war and probably addicted most of the soldiers to sugar. When they came back home, what did they buy? Sugary products, okay? And so Melvin Page, a dentist, noted that our bone health was becoming poor. 90% of tooth decay is related to sugar consumption. We all kind of generally know it, but do we do a lot about it? No. And I think children need to be more educated on brushing their teeth, consuming different food, because who wants to lose their teeth or get abscesses and infections? So minerals only work in relationship to each other. As one is down, the other is up. A teeth, for example, optimum mineral ratio is 10 of calcium versus 4 of phosphorus, and that keeps tooth decay away. But when that ratio changes, then tooth decay sets in, which most of us are familiar with. And we need to do more teaching along that line. For myself, I don't think I brushed my teeth till I was in college. My parents didn't teach me. The school didn't teach me. Now, that's a little more advanced. I encourage you to read Gary Taubes' book, Tabues, The Case Against Sugar. It goes into great detail. It's perfectly honest, a great book to read. We have in our body a reward system, okay? A pathway that makes us feel good or bad, turns appetite on and off. Robert Lustig wrote a book called The Hacking of the American Mind by Our Food, a great book to read too. And so Aristotle was even speaking about pain and pleasure, and we have discovered now that we have in us a circuitry of a quick fix. That's the nucleus accumbens, which is in front of the brain near the bottom. That's the quick fix, a cigarette or alcohol or sugar, the bugger and the hooker, okay? and it makes us feel good. We know that from eating desserts or drinking sugary drinks. The trouble is it leads to bad health. Then if you go a little further back in the brain, there we have the long-term fix, the serotonin, the pleasure that lasts for a long period of time, which can be activated by playing a sport or dancing or listening to music. Sugar can do it too, but sugar is much more likely to heat that nucleus accumbens, which you won't believe it, it's only 1 millimeter in size. Yeah, but it plays as a critical part in us. When you have excessive happiness, reward repeatedly, dopamine and serotonin, you're eating consuming too much of it, it can lead to addiction. Mm-hmm. You become addicted to sugar. Some people think more commonly even than alcohol. So it's excessive reward leads to addiction. Okay? Biochemistry, the metabolism in your body, always comes first. That's what leads you to seek a different food, to look for a reward. And so we see the result. We treat the result, but I treat the cause. Avoid it. That's treating the cause. So in our body, we have about 3 reward systems. The one I just spoke about. One is called the VTA system, which leads to the nucleus accumbens, 1 meter size, and it motivates us to eat more ice cream or to eat another donut. It relieves depression. It's the quick fix. Okay? And then number 2 is the contentment system. That's serotonin. That's a little further back in the brainstem. Incidentally, 75% of serotonin is made in your gut. So what you eat affects how you feel. We're all familiar with that, to say the least. And then we have number 3 is stress, the fear pathway. 4 areas are involved here. That's the emotions, okay? That's in the medial temporal lobe of the brain, the amygdala, the limbic system, the hippocampus, frontal lobe, and the hypothalamus just below that, all interrelated to each other with neurotransmitters and hormones and neuropeptides. They reward us for eating or drinking certain things. So food is tremendously involved with how you feel, how you think. That's why it can become addictive. So, so any stimulus that leads to reward, I feel great, I'm wonderful, I'm in heaven, carried to extreme, can go to addiction, alcohol, marijuana, technology. So the question really is, the problem is too much pleasure. If there's just too much pleasure, you have to be concerned about addiction. So the question is too, are you loving it or you're liking it? You know, where you just like it a little bit, you have control, where you're just loving it so much you just gotta have it. You're thinking about it, okay? And so Coca-Cola with sugar can markedly increase your dopamine. Also, if they use sugar substitutes, stevia, for example, stevia is 300 times more sweet than sugar. Mm-hmm. Although it's one of the best sugar supplements. It can, the next thing that you want to eat is sugar, because it's 3 times more secretion of dopamine, serotonin. So sugar substitutes, frankly, are no better. Could even be worse. So Coca-Cola, for example, caused a market increase in our feel-good, like the Cokes they were selling the Second World War. And now you see a mixture of it as fat, salt, and sugar in fast food stores. They have it. That's how they bring their children in. The Happy Meal was wrapped in foods that cause a rise in your dopamine and your serotonin, and it's made a lot of children overweight. Many resulted in diabetes. So your gut, your trillions of bacteria that live in your gut are alive. They're your friends, okay? And they want to be fed. And the type of bacteria is there depending on the type of food that you're feeding them. And that change can be quickly. The lifespan of one of those bacteria is about 8 hours. So you can quickly change your gut to good or bad depending on what you're eating. So your gut microbiome has a mind of its own. Trillions of bacteria, okay? And they make 75% of your serotonin. So you are what your gut is consuming. These bacteria are your friends. You're not in control, okay? And the hormones that are released are determined by these bacteria. So each person has his own rainforest. Depends on what you've been eating. Okay? And Bifidia bacteria are the good ones. You want lots of those. Mainly about 3 types run the gut. When the baby is born, there's a certain kind of bacteria which they got from the mother, from the passage through the vagina. They picked up some bacteria that determines that is what brings the bacteria to their gut. Okay, so what the mother is eating has tremendous effect on the child, whether it's going to be underweight or overweight. And there are certain bacteria which are obesogenic. They make you gain weight, increase your appetite. And they're good and bad fats, for example, just like the sugar, good and bad fats. Omega-3 fats are the answer, are the better fats. EPA and DHA. And every one of your cells in your body, in the surface of the cell, have in them some fats, mainly omega-3 fats, icosapent fats, DHA, the DOCO fats. That's what the algae eat. So if you're eating a fish, when you eat a meat, you're actually eating what that animal, fish, beef, what they ate. If they eat corn and sugar, well, when you're eating a piece of steak, that's not organically raised on grass, for example, you're eating corn. If you're eating fish out of a pond, they're probably eating corn too. Not every one of them, but a lot of them. So you got to find out where the animal came from. And so you are what they ate, okay? And farm fish eat, a lot of them eat pellets, predetermined food that they are getting. And so if you are addicted to sugar and it's making you ill, you're developing type 2 diabetes, which is a result a lot of times of eating the wrong food. Number one is you ought to get tested. You can go to YouTube, look at my other TV shows, diabetes. YouTube, Rudy Cashman, diabetes, a lot of shows come up, things that were filmed here at public access. So you get some information. Don't forget to get tested, early tested. Get an insulin assay test. That's like a glucose tolerance test. You'll know where you are on the path to diabetes, if you are, which a good 80% of the people probably are, and you'd like to avoid that, avoid diabetes, because it has 30, 50 diseases attached to it, okay? And but how can you detox? One way is, I recently visited, it's called the Health Hut on Fairfield. They sell there a product which you can drink and eat, and vitamins, and you detox for a week. and it changes these bacteria in your gut. Different bacteria take over by having healthy food, and you're much less habituated or addicted to sugar. That's one way of doing it. Okay. Another way would be eat a nutrient-dense way of eating. Nutrient-dense diet. Fruits of color are your mother. Okay, 20% meat or so. Take a walk every day, and over a few weeks, your gut biome will change, and you will get rid of type 2 diabetes, for example, different friends living there. So that's another way of doing it. I found also a very good book to read, Sugar Free, by Michelle Pramaoleko. Okay, here it is. Sugar Free. If you Google that, it'll probably come up, or go to Amazon. It's an excellent way to detox on sugar. And what it says on the cover, sugar-free 3 weeks. That's a plan. And a simple 3-week plan for more energy, better sleep, surprisingly easy weight loss. And you'll get rid of your, if you have diabetes, you're going to lose weight, for example, improve the metabolism of your body. It's a great book. If you go to their website, OpenFit, you will have many teaching videos there too, which is kind of nice. Short and informed videos. All the foods you want to eat, how to read food labels. You need to learn to read labels, in the food industry and the government has constructed to make it difficult for you. I think the word glucose itself, they can put that in food, don't even have to list it. I was reading this morning, I couldn't believe that. They use words like sugar and sucrose, but glucose, the actual sugar itself, we have in our body, in our blood system, how much sugar we got there? Normally, 2 teaspoons full of sugar. That's in our body. 2 teaspoons full. That's not much, okay? And we can get that sugar from protein and fats. We don't even need to take in sugar. Let me repeat that. We don't even need to consume sugar. Our body can make all the sugar it needs from fat and protein. So when you go back in history, a few hundred years, people were consuming essentially very little sugar. Just the sugar they got is of the plants and fruits they were eating, and they were not eating an awful lot of fat. But if you keep the sugar level normal, you have a better mood, decreased inflammation, weight loss, cancer rates go way down, for example. The American Heart Association limits, says one should not add a male more than 150 calories of sugar a day and a woman no more than 100. I say don't add any sugar. Just, you will consume some sugar from the foods that you eat naturally. It'll not exceed the limit, okay? And so we ourselves are eating stuff that our dreams made of. And a lot of sugar, a lot of omega-6, the bad fats. We need a little bit of bad fats, but we eat much more than we should. And so sugar and bad fats can destroy your health. And let me review that with you a little bit here on page 62 of the sugar-free book. And I want you to read it. And how good is good? So if you see words like good source, contains, or provides on the package, that means a serving that food contains 10 to 19% of the reference daily intake of vitamins that you need, okay? If you see the words high, rich in, that means 20% of that. So you kind of need to know a little bit And if you eat some protein, then you're not consuming sugar. So what are good sources of protein? Egg whites would be a good one. 1 egg a day. I think 2-3 times a week. What's the problem? Just 1 egg a day. The egg white has the most protein, but the yolk has in it too some vitamins and choline, which are good for your health. But you can buy egg whites in a carton in the fridge section, okay? And you can even buy at the market pre-cooked eggs to save time. And other good source of protein would be tofu from soybeans and tempeh, T-O-F-U and T-M-P-E-H. And it's a terrific source of calcium and omega-3 fats. Also, beans and legumes are a good source. Chickpeas, lentils, fava beans, black beans, green peas. Superfoods are fibers because they're full of fiber and protein, and have some carbs in them. So if you're eating 3 ounces of beans and nuts, for example, it might be a bit much, okay, because there are some carbs in them. And if you're bloating, having a lot of gas from beans, then you should soak and rinse them or cook them until they're soft, and chew them slowly. An excellent source of protein and some vitamins. Lean beef, I'm not totally against beef. Meat has some cancer factors in it. A lot of times they be eating corn. Remember, what you eat, what animal you eat depends what that animal ate. So organic beef, once a week, no problem. I wouldn't be totally opposed to any lean pork. But if you take the fatty part off a pork chop, the rest is still a bit fatty. So you have to kind of watch for that. But fish and shellfish are full of DHA and EPA, good essential fatty acids that you need. And look for the labels, okay? And fresh fish usually tastes better than frozen ones. And the best fish and shellfish are anchovies, black sea bass, Chilean sea bass, clams, cod, crab. That reminds me, in the mail today, I managed to order them online tonight. I'm having stone crabs. No guest in the house. I love stone crabs. But I managed to get them from Florida, shipped to me in one day. So if you can't get the food you want, sometimes they'll deliver it to your house. And while I'm thinking of it, there's a company in town that will send fruit and vegetables to you in a large package, and it's 40% less and delivered to your house free. You can make a lot of meals off of that. I think it's called First Reject or something like that. I just found out about it the other day, and I will keep on bringing it up. I ordered my first box, and a big box will last you all week, okay? And so healthy proteins. Proteins are made from amino acids, okay? But chicken and turkey, fish, shellfish, lean beef, lean pork, eggs, tofu, tempeh, beans, legumes, they're all good proteins because we need some protein. And because when you're consuming protein, you're not consuming sugar. Also, what does NSA mean? That stands for no sugar added. That's what you want to avoid. Look for the sugar added labels. A lot of things you go in a restaurant or foods that you buy, chicken you buy at a fast food store, they're all wrapped in sugary products. You don't want that. That's the biggest danger. Matter of fact, Dr. Lustig said type 2 diabetes should be renamed fast food disease. Interesting. I think he's right. He's the foremost authority, as far as I'm concerned, on health and preventing diabetes, even as children. He's a pediatric endocrinologist. You can watch him on YouTube. Great shows to watch. Great shows to watch. So I think to consume some beans every day, I think would be a good idea. I have a smoothie in the morning, which I think is a good one. Put kale at the bottom and vegetables and some curcumin and some onions and some seeds and some nuts and avoid milk and these things. Use a little bit of water. That's about all you would need. I have a smoothie every morning. It meets my nutrient need, a good way to avoid sugar addiction. Keep my appetite down for a long part of the day. What about rice? Now, that's a good question for you. I do teach some at the neighborhood clinic, or I'm going to start teaching there. I'm also going to teach some people from Burma and some from South America. They have higher rates of diabetes. People in general, maybe, if properly tested with serum insulins, 70% of the people have diabetes. Mm-hmm. But these people, it may be 95, 99%. But I met a nurse 2 or 3 days ago. She made house calls on Bernese in inner city for 22 years. And she said she'll walk in and they will have rice just stacked up high. Well, white rice is sugar. You're eating sugar. Now, black rice, brown rice, still have the bran and a lot of the coverings, so they still have the vitamins and the minerals, so it's a little bit better, but it's still rice. The Japanese, although they eat rice in a limited fashion, get very sick, but they move to Hawaii and add American food on top of that, and sure enough, they develop increased rates of cancer, dementia, diabetes, all those complications. Fiber is your friend. Fiber is your friend. So you're trying to get your weight under control or have a more healthy diet to eat more fibrous foods. And that is hard vegetables, for example. Celery, for example, is high fiber food. The gut, well, they're typically breaking it down, so you don't get the calories. And the fiber goes to the colon, and the metabolism in there, those bacteria in there take out what's important, but the rest will go out in the end. So you consume some of these calories. They're not adding to your weight. So there are 2 different types of fiber. Soluble fiber, it combines with water to form a gel-like substance that creates bulk and it makes you feel full. It's all over your gut. This gel-like fiber helps slow digestion, keeping you full longer and helping to maintain healthy blood sugar levels. It's hard to break the food down when it's full of soluble fiber, and the blood sugar will be much more steady instead of huge spikes. Improves heart health. Chia seeds, for example, are particularly rich in soluble fiber. Other examples include oatmeal, oat bran, beans, and nuts. Okay, that's important information. Then we have insoluble fiber. Rather than dissolve in water, insoluble fiber moves through your digestive tract undigested and makes its way to the colon. This bulking feature of insoluble fiber helps to move through your body, adding bulk to the stool. You'll find insoluble fiber, seeds, whole wheat, brown rice, and fruit and veggie skins. And so your daily intake of fiber should be around 28 grams per day. The average American, they say in this book, 15 grams a day. So they're absorbing a lot more of the food. So fiber full of fresh fruits with peel on, fresh vegetables, whole grain bread, brown rice, popcorn. Incidentally, in breads, I would get Ezekiel bread. It's in the freezer section. It's much more fibrous, much more healthy, and it will rot if you don't keep it in the refrigerator, okay? Fiberless, fruit juice, most green juice, white bread, white rice, fiberless, they're nothing but sugar. And so when it comes to packaged foods, always look for excellent sources instead of good ones that give you a better choice. And Edanamis are good protein. I generally go to a restaurant, I order those. You can carry your favorite sushi restaurant appetizer with you in energy form edanamis, okay? And what are good vegetables, for example? Let's talk about that a minute. Asparagus, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, all kind of cauliflower dishes. They are a good substitute, incidentally, for rice, cauliflower dishes. You can buy them that way in the supermarket. I just did today. Mushrooms, peppers, lettuce, leafy greens, spinach, tomatoes, fermented veggies, for example. And so vegetables offer a rainbow of nutrition. In fact, phytonutrients, plant-based compounds that make veggies, fruits so healthy, also provide distinct colors. So let's break them. So colors that we're looking for: green ones, spinach, broccoli, asparagus, kale, leafy greens, cucumber, zucchini. Very important. And some can be raw, some sauteed. Red ones, beets, red carrots, peppers, tomatoes, radishes, cabbage. And the enzymes that are in them, lycopene, the phytonutrients, lycopene, ellagic acid, hesperin, and anthocyanins. These are the enzymes that run the metabolism and rainbow of your health. So very important to eat them. Orange and yellow, carrots, peppers, golden beets, yellow squash, spaghetti, the phytonutrients, beta-carotene, alpha-carotenoids, beta-cryptose, and luteins. These are the enzymes that run the metabolism of your body. That's why you are eating them. These enzymes themselves have no calories in them. Okay, and then here I see this already talked to you about cauliflower, but they've got a few words here on Kali Madness, pointing out that it's a good substitute for rice. You can buy Green Giant or at Trader Joe's cauliflower rice, fresh and frozen, much healthier than regular rice. So I think is a good thing to keep in mind. Now we have unsweetened flavor enhancers. Use them to make. You say, oh, it's not according to my taste. Well, use them. Mustards, for example, Spicy John mustard. But always check, make sure there isn't sugar in it. Okay. Some hot sauces, chili peppers, vinegar, balsamic glazes are good. Fresh squeezed lemon and lime. That's a good flavor enhancer. I put it in a smoothie. I put some lemon in there, and so those are flavor enhancers. Okay. Now let's look at herbs: basil, oregano, dill, parsley, rosemary, curry, mint, nutmeg, chives, fennel, sage. All things that are spices that make food taste better. So become an expert in those. Okay. What can I drink? Okay. A glass of wine. They've shown now any wine can increase cancer rates. They did that. But have a glass of wine 2 or 3 days a week. Myself, I would think that's okay. But again, I said any wine, any alcohol of any kind can increase cancer rates, isn't it? That came out in the literature recently. And coffee, water, seltzer, club soda. I drink Pellegrino, comes from Italy. I add a lemon and lime. To me, it's like a glass of wine. Just delicious, very healthy. We should drink in ounces. If you weigh 140 pounds, you should drink about 70 ounces of water. So it's half in ounces your body weight, because you won't believe this. You think your muscles are big? Yeah. Well, I hate to tell you this. Your body is 60% water. Yeah. So to drink some water through the day to keep your kidneys moving, for example, I think this is very important. Now, allowed in moderation, some starchy vegetables, richer potatoes and sweet potatoes. Keep their coverings on, though, because it has in the vitamins. Pumpkin, butternut squash, kabocha and other winter squash, cassava, turnips. So they're nutrient dense, satisfying, but they're a little more carbohydrates. So if you get a big time weight problem, could be a problem. But like a baked potato, eat it with the coverings on it. Don't put a lot of stuff on it. And I eat it with a little lemon juice on it. Very tasty to me. Sweet potatoes are healthier, but there's some carbs in there. And they give you your 400% of your daily vitamin A and half of your vitamin C as sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are more healthy. The corn, you ought to eat corn on the cob, for example. But, you know, if you process it, then it becomes sugar. Corn is sugar. And if your animal you're eating has been eating corn, it came in a trough. I mean, it's a processed food. You're eating corn. You're not eating the animal. You're eating corn. Winter squash is pretty good, starchy, but it's helpful. And you ought to have some idea what the glycemic index is of the food that you're eating, how quickly it raises the blood sugar. Okay, if it's white bread, it's 90 on the scale. If you're eating a fruit that still has a covering on it, especially if there's stone in it, maybe it's 30 in the glycemic index. Foods that are much more healthy and don't raise your blood sugar, because this is an addiction we want to get over. Whole fruits are good for health, but they have some fructose in them, but because of fiber, not a lot. You can't eat 7 bananas, but a banana a day will keep the doctor away. So berries, apples, bananas, cherries, oranges, peaches are healthy, and they have some fiber in them. They have some potassium in them, especially bananas. And to eat some berries, apples, bananas every day, I think is a very healthy thing. Unrefined whole grains, brown rice. Remember, I said still have the fibers on it. Quinoa, barley, sprouted whole wheat, whole grain breads, pastas, wraps, corn, tortillas, and crackers are a little more healthy. They're unrefined. And brown rice, quinoa, and oats are better for you. And the ones you don't want is whole grain bread, wraps, pasta, crackers. They can be pure sugar. Now we speak about fats. There's healthy fats and there's unhealthy fats. Healthy fats are olive oil, avocados, nuts and seeds, seed butters, for example. But again, even olive oil is the best of the oils, omega-3 oils, but it's 100% fat. So we use a lot of it. For example, you're going to gain weight. You're going to gain weight. So be careful with the amount. But to use a little bit on your salad. But the amount counts. You're going to have an excellent salad and dose 800 calories and oils on it, so be careful. Avocados are excellent. I put on some toast. Tastes really good. It's a good fat. It spreads well on toast. No sodium or cholesterol. It's loaded with monounsaturated fat, which is healthier. And nuts and seeds. Dr. Furman, who has written a tremendous number of books, and they're all excellent books, eats 2 ounces of nuts a day. I think it's a bit much, but he's a friend of mine. But he's thin, but he exercises quite a bit. But, you know, an ounce of nuts a day, good appetite suppressor. To put them in your smoothie, I think would be a good thing. for you. Then we come to dairy. What about dairy? I mean, if you read a book called Whitewash by Joe Keon, you wouldn't be drinking milk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well-written book, full of scientific references. We don't have the enzyme, most of us don't have the enzyme to metabolize lactose, the sugar in it. Asians don't have it at all. Blacks, maybe 75% don't have it. Whites, only 50% have it, so you're going to get a lot of bowel problems. You're drinking milk, quite a bit of fat in them. You say, well, low fat, half fat, but still you're getting the other chemicals in there. I'd go to, if you need to drink some milk, go to plant milk, pea milk, almond milk. But even those milks have some fat in them. You're trying to lose weight, not a good thing. But you can get over sugar addiction with it. It's not a sugar. They don't have lactose in them, okay? And so read the labels, especially yogurts. Get the real yogurt and look at the amount of sugar. Yogurts generally get some sugar in them. You can get low fat, but you don't get low sugar. Usually 7 grams of sugar. So I'd be a little, I don't recommend it, yogurt every day. So in summary, I would say this. Sugar is what leads to most of the chronic illnesses that we have. 30 to 50 of the diseases from type 2 diabetes, which is related to sugar consumption, can be avoided, prevented. I had 30 years to your life, avoid 25 years of disability. But like I said, our circuitry in us, the nucleus accumbens, and the serotonin center, they want a quick fix, whether it's a cigarette or alcohol or technology or food. We have to find a better way to make us feel good. Take a walk, exercise, pick the exercise of your choice. In the mornings, I walk in nature. I sing to the birds. I look at the leaves. I look at the animals. I use my senses. I hear nature. I see nature. I walk in nature. In the morning when I first get up, I'm sitting reading and looking at my bird feeders. This morning there were 3 deer in there looking at me. It's true. And when I went like that, you know what the deer did? They waved their ears at me. That's based on a lot of practice, okay? And then the birds arrive, and then you won't believe this one. I don't recommend this to everybody. I have a woodchuck living in my house, 11 years old now. Yeah. And he eats what's left over, cleans the place up, except now he's still hibernating. I can't wait. It's going to probably be another 2 months before I see him again. And he'll be thin because he's been hibernating. But I wish we could hibernate and then use up any extra fat that we have. But we do need some fat. Our muscles have in them some fat. That's normal to have some fat in the body. Remember, we have a lot of water. We need a little bit of fat. Just in every membrane, every cell of our body, there's some fat, omega-3 fats, omega-6 fats that run the metabolism of our body. That's how the body's communicated before we developed a heart, for example. And I encourage you to get some blood testing done. I think this is important. And I don't want you just to get a fasting blood sugar. I want you to, if that's normal, get a glucose tolerance test. And if that's normal, get a insulin assay test. Because the serum insulin raises before the sugar, and you'd be catching yourself on the way to diabetes, 10 to 15 years before it's time. You act on that, you'll be much healthier, probably live another 30 years beyond what most people live. The disability most people are getting today, you would not get it. Avoid kidney diseases, for example, high blood pressure, increased rates of cancer. But you have to ask your doctor that you want the insulin assay test. Get it done at least once as a baseline. Put it in a book, put it in a computer, and then maybe repeat it in a few years. If you get a problem, if it's abnormal, then I get it at least once a year, and if it's quite abnormal, maybe every 3 months till you've taken corrective action. Most diabetes precedes these other illnesses that I've been speaking about, and if we can eliminate the path to diabetes, you're going to live to be 100 and maybe more. But industry, the medical system, is not pushy about this. A few people get a serum insulin, but not many. Let me give you an example. I went to General Motors a few years ago, and we were looking at a man, and he weighed 220. He had a blood sugar, and the nurse, I hear him tell him, "Oh, you don't have diabetes." You know what I would say to that? We don't know, because I see he's overweight. So we then get glucose tolerance test, and now it's normal. And the nurse says, "You don't have diabetes." And I say, "I don't know yet." We then run a serum assay test, fasting 1 hour, 2 hour, okay? And what we found in this gentleman, his serum insulin was elevated. So he is an early diabetic, which could lead to 50 diseases. But I asked him to lose about 15 pounds, and I saw him back in 3 months, all cleared up. Blood figures, we repeated them, were all normal now. That's my point. At the Three Rivers Pharmacy by Concordia High, you can get a sheet of paper, which I signed to get those tests done. Show them to your doctor, and the doctor can order for you that it may be covered by insurance. If you have no insurance, you can go to a company called AnyTest, right next to Walgreens and DuPont. Coldwater Road, DuPont, next to Walgreens, it's right there. I think it's $110. No doctor's thing needed. If you want the information signed by me, pick it up for free at the Three Rivers Pharmacy and give it to them. If you walked in and said, "I want the Kraft test or the Rudy test," I think that alone would do it. But it'd be interesting to have a piece of paper with already written on there, and you'd be on your way to being a very healthy person. And the point is, you have to participate in your health care. That's important. It can't just be a script to the ill. You got to say, "Doc, can I read about it? Can I go YouTube?" I tell you, YouTube has so much information in it that I played a guy in a tennis tournament not too long ago who was excellent player. He had learned everything off of YouTube. Yeah. And so if you were to put in there YouTube, Rudy Cashman, 1,000 TV shows they got in there. 1,000. If you want to just say diabetes, add diabetes, 50 show up. If you want to be on migraine headaches, maybe 3 show up. If you want to be on gluten, maybe 10 show up. So all this is available to you for free. And so I use YouTube too to teach me additional steps in tap dancing. Yeah. Other health shows. Robert Lustig, what I was leaning to, Lustig, excellent things to watch. He's a pediatric endocrinologist, and he explains sugar and metabolism in an excellent way. I try to watch him regularly, watch my own shows, watch his shows, maybe you learn more than I do. I wouldn't wonder about that since I got 1,500 books in my basement. I've read every Don Wallem. Incidentally, too, if you can see me for free at the Three Rivers Pharmacy. You call it 373-1083. Sheila will answer the phone, and I want to see Dr. Cashman to get rid of my diabetes, or get rid of my addiction, or discuss other health issues like I did today. So some very interesting cases. And like I said, I'd love to do this, so there's no cost involved. I try to make an appointment. Might be the best. Or you stop in the pharmacy, see what's going on. They sell health medicines there. I don't own part of it. I don't share part of it. Sheila Walker, I think whose heart must be right there, provides an office for me there for nothing, and I use it to teach people good health. And we have a TV monitor in there. You can even sit down there and watch one of the health shows if you don't want to talk to me. But I've seen Sheila many times take a patient who's buying medicine there and say, "You want to get rid of your high blood pressure?" And the guy said, "Of course I do." I saw her do it the other day. And this African-American gentleman, a very nice gentleman, sat down. He watched one of my TV shows. I was kind of in the background. And then after that, Sheila said, "Would you like to see Dr. Cashman and talk to him about personally?" And mind you, she makes some money selling blood pressure medication, and she's trying to get him to get rid of the disease. Isn't that wonderful? I think I'm sort of developing another center like that on Fairfield called the Health Hut, owned by a guy named David Thompson, who I met recently. I think I'll be seeing people there too and do some TV shows there. He has a very nice monitor there. And I think that'll be my next. And I also will be seeing patients in the neighborhood health clinic on South Calhoun, I think it is, close to the Oyster Bar. A wonderful place. And I'm going to meet with them next Wednesday. And I think we're going to have a room in there teaching people how to prevent, reverse diabetes. I may see a lot of Burmese there who seem to eat a lot of white rice, have a lot of diabetes, and it could be very interesting. So I appreciate you watching this show. I hope you get over any sugar addiction you have. You'll never probably get rid of totally, because nature designed in us this reward pathway to make us feel good, and nature designed it that way so that you would eat to stay alive. So we need to eat a little bit, except we have to reduce how quickly you might grab that second donut, maybe even the first one, okay? And anyway, thanks for listening to me. As a labor of love for my part, if you see me, give me a hug. Ask any questions you might have. Maybe read some of the books. You can go to Cashman, Amazon. I got about 10 books on there. No, 20, about 20 books on there. See you next time. Namaste. Thank you.